Haumitakuyapi. Welcome everyone. In this story that I am about to share with you, there are several scenes which contain sensitive information. I strongly advise you to please not attempt to perform or mimic these incidents in any way, as I cannot be held responsible for your actions after hearing this story.
There's a lot of Iktomi stories, and some of them are funny. Actually, a lot of them are really funny because they show us things that we're not supposed to do. And sometimes the results are just ridiculous. Yeah? They're just silly, but sometimes they're vicious too. But no matter what, they all teach us things, and sometimes we make choices that are similar to these stories, and this is why we can really identify with them. Yeah, so that because maybe something ridiculous happened to us too because of that choice that we made. And if I can think of something from my life, I will share it with you. But you see, I rarely make mistakes. No, I'm just kidding. I have a book of mistakes, and just one page is filled. Right. Oh man. Anyway, it's one of these stories. Iktomi is walking along. See, a lot of stories start like that. Iktomi is walking along, and he hears laughter. Yeah, it's like children or something. He hears them laughing, and first you hear whoop 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 whoa. Then they start laughing. Over and over and over again, yeah? Whoop, 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 whoa! Then they all start laughing. He hears this over and over, and he has to find out, yeah? Because Iktomi is just nosy. That he has to find out, where is this coming from? So he's looking all over, and sound seems to be coming from a forest. So he goes in there, and he's looking and looking, and finally he hones in on it. And he sees these mice. And what they're doing is they're taking their eyes out and they're throwing them up in the air. Yeah? And then they're running around, then they catch their eyes, but sometimes they catch each other's eyes, and that's why they laugh, yeah? So Iktomi is like, hey, I want to play that game. And there's like, oh no, it's Iktomi, everybody run, run, run. And so then they all take off from him. And then say, wait, little brothers, I just want to play with you guys, that's all. He said, I promise, he said. But everybody knows that Iktomi's promises don't mean anything. He will say whatever he has to say to get your attention. He's a con man. And so everywhere the mice ran, he kept finding them. So finally they thought, okay, let's just show him, and then when he throws his eyes up, we'll take off. So then they said, okay. So then they said, okay, Iktomi, they said, we'll teach you how to play this game. So they taught him how to take his eyes out, yeah, and then to throw them up in the air. Now remember, they're in a forest, okay? And throwing up in the air for the mice is not the same as when a human does it, yeah? Do you get my drift? So the mice told Iktomi, they said that the higher you throw your eyes up in the air, the more fun the game is to play. So Iktomi says, yeah, okay, I'll throw my eyes so high they'll touch the clouds, he said. So the mice said, okay. So then they said, okay, everybody, take your eyes out and throw them up in the air. So then the mice, they were just pretending, yeah. So the mice were going, whoop, 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 whoa. But see, they didn't do it. Yeah, they just were saying that so Iktomi would do it. So when they were saying that, Iktomi took out his eyes and he threw them up as high as he could. And the mice ran away. Yeah, they really took off fast. So Iktomi was running around like he's going to catch his eyes. Yeah, so he's looking at, geez, I must have threw them so high they went to the sun, he said. So he's really running around. And here a coyote came walking by. Coyote said to Iktomi, what are you doing? And he said, I'm playing a game. He said, I'm catching my eyes, he said. So the coyote sat there and was like, huh. So he's looking up. The coyote saw that Iktomi's eyes were caught on a tree branch. Yeah? So Iktomi said, geez, I must be really strong. He said, they're probably still going up there somewhere among the stars, he said. So the coyote said, yeah, gee, you're really a tough guy, man, he said. So, well, I have to go, so I'll see you later. So the coyote pretended he was going to take off, yes, but he just walked a short distance away. The coyote thought to himself, well, I have to watch this. I wonder what's going to happen. So finally, Iktomi was standing still. He's looking up, and where's my eyes? He's thinking. So finally, it started to get nighttime, yeah, because you can hear certain sounds in the forest at night. And so Iktomi knew it was nighttime. So he started to get worried, yeah. He started to cry and and oh shit. See, he's just sitting there in the forest and it's like he started to cry. Oh. Really rhythmic, eh? Like that. And then you hear a bird came by and saw Iktomi's eyes by its nest. So that bird pushed those eyes off. They hit Iktomi on top of the head, yeah? He hit him on his head and it landed on his lap. So he said, oh, finally they came back, he said. Just like that, he stopped crying, yeah? It's just that he put his eyes back in his sockets and he realized, Jesus, I can't even see anything, he said. Maybe I have them in the wrong side, he said. So he took his eyes out. He put his eyes back in. He said, Ma, he said, he looked around. I see two of everything, he said. So he was trying to walk and he was reaching out like he reached out for a tree, but then nothing is there, yeah? So he made himself cross-eyed. So he thought, okay, I must have put one in kind of funny, he said. So he took one out and turned it around and he was so then he put it back in and now he could see okay. Yeah, so he continued walking along. He's like, Jesus, tired. So he found a place to bed down for the night. So he laid there, fell asleep. All that time, Coyote's following him, yeah? And he's watching him because he knows, geez, Iktomi is really off, guys. He wants to see what he's up to. So then Iktomi wakes up in the morning time and he hears that laughter again. Yeah? It's like, what's going on? So he hears, sound like little kids again. It's like, huh? So he's looking around and he's facing the different directions and he's really looking. Is it coming from over there? Or is it coming from over there? Huh. So then he walks and then finally he locates where it's coming from. And so he sees there's an old buffalo skull out there. And so he goes over there and he sees that the mice are in there. The same mice that he was playing with or that he addressed yesterday. And he said, "Hey, little brothers." He said, "What are you guys doing?" And here the mice were playing another game. Yeah? And Iktomi wanted to play with him. So the mice said, "Well, you have to come inside first," they said. So he was trying to get inside the buffalo skull, yeah? and and he got his head was starting to come inside the skull, and then the mice really took off. And here he got his whole head inside the skull, and here he he managed to fit it in there, and then he couldn't see anything, yeah, because his head is just the skull is all over his head, his face. he's trying to sit up, but he couldn't, yeah, because buffalo skulls are really heavy, and Iktomi is a weakling, yeah, he's really bony, and he's not a good hunter, and he's just a schemer, yeah, he's just a liar, yeah, he's a deceiver, he's a trickster. And so he's trying to get this buffalo skull off his head, but it's stuck. So he's trying to sit up, and he looks like a drunk. Yeah, his head is going to the left and to the right and the front and back. And he's trying to hold his head up, but he's really having a hard time. And then sometimes he falls. Yeah, his body will fall to the ground. So he's with both his hands, he's really trying to push himself up, and he starts crawling around, but his head's dragging on the ground because it's so heavy. Yeah, that skull is so heavy, so he's dragging his head, walking on all fours, and then the coyote is sitting over there, and he's really trying not to laugh. He's like, "Come, he has a buffalo skull on his head." And so he's crawling around like that, and finally he comes to a tree, and so he uses the tree, to help himself stand up, and then so he's standing there holding onto a tree. He really looks goofy because it's a man's body, but a buffalo skull for a head. Yes, he's standing. He looks like he's looking around. Yeah. He's turning his head to the left and the right. What he's trying to do is loosen the skull from his head, but it looks like he's standing there looking around. So it really just the coyote standing there. It's like, jeez, this guy's off. What's he trying to do? So So Iktomi, he starts to cry again, yeah, like that. So finally, after I don't know, an hour or so, the coyote walks over to Iktomi and he says, "Excuse me, sir." He said, "Can I help you?" And so Iktomi says, "Yeah, I got this skull stuck on my head." He said, I'm trying to get it off, but I can't, he said. So Coyote said, there's a rock to your left. He said, there's a really big rock there. And he said, why don't you run into it head first, and I'm sure that will smash the skull, and so you'll be free. So Iktomi says, oh yeah, that's a good idea. He said, it's just about 10 steps to the right. He said, it's a really big rock. So, and there was, yeah. Coyote's telling him the truth. So Iktomi really runs, and it's hard, yeah, because the skull is so heavy. As he's leaning forward, his head is going faster and faster. He runs into that rock, and nothing happens. Instead, the rock falls apart. And so he's really lifting his head up and down, like to try to smash the skull on what's left of that rock. But then, as he's doing that, all he's doing is smashing that rock into smaller rocks. Yeah. So finally, there's just nothing but gravel there. Yeah. And the skull is still attached to his head. He got bump on his head, yes, so it seemed like the skull got tighter. So he's crawling around again, and then he'll stand up, and then he's trying to run into trees next. Yeah, he finds a tree, and he'll be banging his head on the tree, and the only thing that happens is the tree falls over. Yeah. So he's running around, swinging his head left and right. He's crying at the same time. And he's running into tree after tree after tree, and nothing is happening. Every time he hits something, he gets another bump on his head, and that skull seems to be even tighter. Yeah? And so finally he throws himself on the ground, and he just, I give up, he said. Oh, spirits can take me now. He said, I give up. He's laying on the ground, all spread eagle. His arms are spread apart, and he has this buffalo skull on his head. So Coyote walks up to him, and this time he's disguising his voice, yeah, to a different person. And so Coyote says, excuse me, sir. What's wrong? Can I help you? So Iktomi explains to him he has this buffalo skull stuck on his head, and it seems to be getting tighter, he said. Oh, shoot. So then Coyote says, okay, he said, there's a stream nearby. He said, I'll tell you where it's at. I'll follow you, he said, so you make sure you get there. And he said, you can crawl over there. And he said, put your head in the water, and that should soak the skull. And so that'll help you get the skull loose, and then it'll come off your head. So Iktomi says, that's a good idea. Thank you, sir. So the coyote's walking beside Iktomi, yeah, as he's dragging his head on the ground, because he's been running around all day long, smashing his head against rocks and trees, so he's really tired now. So he's barely dragging his head, and they get to that stream, and you can hear the water. It's kind of going fast, which means there might be some waterfalls up ahead, yeah? The coyote's not saying anything. So Iktomi gets to the stream, he puts his head under the water. Nothing is happening, yeah? Now he's having a problem because he can't hold his breath all the time. He ends up starting to drink the water, and then he loses balance and he falls into the stream. So he's going with the stream, and it's getting faster and faster. Then it's waterfalls, yeah, and it's a big one. So he goes down, falling and falling and falling, and it just so happens he really hits a rock hard down there, and that breaks open the skull. And he's able to get that off, but he's having a hard time now because he's not a good swimmer. So he says, this guy's not good at anything. So Coyote walks down there, and is watching him. Says, "Geez, this guy's off." Yeah. So finally, Coyote runs down to the bottom, and he's shouting at Iktomi, "Turn to the right and come this way. There's a tree branch. You can grab it." So then he finally is able to do that. He pulls himself out and he's he's just out of breath, and he's got bumps and bruises all over his head and his face, and from this buffalo skull. Yeah. He gets up and he's like, "Oh, I'm just gonna go to sleep right here." He says. He goes to sleep, and then when he wakes up, he drinks some water. Then he walks away. When he walks away, he does this Pink Panther walk. Some of you might know what this is, yeah, if you're my generation, because I don't know if they still show Pink Panther cartoons. Remember, there's a certain way that the Pink Panther walks. Yeah, that's an Iktomi walk. So he gets up and he walks away like that, yeah, and that's the end of that adventure, yeah, and that's the beginning of another one. Oh shoot! Oh, for crying out loud! That one really makes me laugh because of you can visualize things. You know, we've done things in our lives like this, yeah, and so we can identify with that, and it can get just hilarious.
To learn more about Lakota spirituality, I have written a book called Wichocha Otechige. This book also includes Lakota Star Knowledge information. All the videos that I make, which are about Lakota spirituality, Lakota Star Knowledge, and cultural information, are based on this book. This book costs 99 American dollars, and this price includes the shipping cost as well as a tracking number. And to learn more about Lakota language, I have written a Lakota language book called Chante Etan Owoglake, Speaking from the Heart. And all my Lakota language videos are based on this book. This book cost 119 American dollars, and this price includes the shipping cost as well as a tracking number. I also teach online, and I give spiritual consultations as well. The price for these sessions are 35 American dollars an hour. If you are interested in any of my services and products, you can send payment via PayPal to my email address, which is hehaka7@yahoo.com. That's HEHAKA, the number 7, @yahoo.com. And also include your shipping address and your email address when you send your payment. Lila Pilamayelo, thank you very much.